This is one of the white beans, and it's warm because they've just been boiling it, and they're quite soft. So now that the beans have been boiled, we're going to put them into the bag and stomp on them kind of like how you might stereotypically make wine with grapes, to soften them up and get them into a paste. Now that we have the bags of this white soybeans, we're going to put it in a towel before we step on it, just to make sure the bag breaks, the soybean doesn't go into the nice tatami floors. And then we don't want to do it too energetically because we don't want to pop the bag, but we're just crushing the soybean. You can see how it starts to be a little bit more like a dough as you keep crushing it and crushing it. So this is the Koji. It's almost like little bits of yeast that's used in making sake, fermenting rice, soybeans for miso, like what we're doing. In this form, Koji is covering the little bits of rice grains, and we tried a little bit earlier. It's a little salty, and it's uncooked rice, but it's very soft, almost like half-cooked rice. We're gonna mix this in evenly so that you don't get any clumping. So now that the Koji and the white bean paste is mixed all together, the next step is to make these snowballs with it so that you're packing all of the air out. And then in the container, is that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of fun. As more and more of them pile up, you start to flatten it so it gets to be a little bit like that. What was this called again? Sake kasu, which is kind of like a film left over from sake. If you've ever had amazake, which is like a sweet, it's kind of like a sweet non-alcoholic sake. This is the particulate, the kind of the grainy part of amazake. And we're going to cover the top of the miso inside of the kame, inside of the kame, the jar, like a layer or a topping, a lid. To kind of seal in the miso. I've got my soybeans patted down, and I've got it covered with a layer of sake kasu. And I'm going to use a softer type now. You can kind of see it up here on the corners to seal it in, to make sure no bad bacteria get into the miso and ruin it as it ferments. So we've then put some washi or Japanese paper inside, and kind of sealed it around the corners. And what I've got here is 1 kilogram of salt, and we're going to use salt for two things. One, we're going to pour it on top of the paper so that it weighs everything down and prevents air from getting in. And then the second reason why we choose salt for that is because it prevents the bad bacteria from getting in and ruining the miso later on in the process. So another reason why the paper is nice is because in the summer, when they mix it halfway through the fermenting process, you can pull the paper out, and the salt has been compacted over time and hardened, so it's almost like a plate, and it pulls the salt out really nice and easily. Next step for us though right now is we're going to make a little bit of a seal or a lid with more wagashi paper that we use on the inside. We're going to put it over and tie it just like you might be able to see Satomi doing. And the reason why you use paper is you might be able to see that it's quite transparent. We don't want to use the lid because that prevents air from getting in, and the koji, the bacteria, need to stay alive. They need to be able to breathe to get the oxygen, which the paper allows, but the lid would not.